Y'all wanna know why all this shit went down? Tune in, turn up, ride this podcast sound. Down south, we're conversating dope and legit. Future vibes flow ain't never gonna quit.
Cool, so we are recording. So let me know when you ready to go.
I'm born ready.
Okay, cool. All right. Peace, family. This is Tariq Bey. Welcome to the Dope Conversation Podcast. This is our very first episode, and I'm pleased to have in the building a very, 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 very special guest, the one and only Jen, the Rainmaker. She's in the building, man. Jen is a business partner of mine. She's also a practitioner with me with the sciences of the Ching, and we've been rocking for the last week or so. And man, this is an amazing woman. I said, man, this would be a great opportunity to bring someone like this to the podcast for our very first episode. So I'm proud to have in the building. Jen, how you doing today, Jen?
I'm amazing. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. I'm living my best life.
Best life. So the Rainmaker.
Yes.
Tell me about this Rainmaker. Why they call you the Rainmaker? What's the whole science of this rainmaking?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm in Atlanta, man. You know, you talk about making it rain out here. I mean, you know, this was started at, I thought, but tell me your spin on it, your take on the Rainmaker.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, Rainmaker, actually, that name was given to me by an elder in community. So at the time, I was doing things, helping people with the energy of money. And he had come to me because I was known as the money healer. And he was kind of like, why do you call yourself that? And I just said, it's easy. People kind of understand that. And he was like, but you're so much more. You're a rainmaker. So he knew about me in terms of how I grew up and my path that I've had. I've had one path that has been, very spiritual, basically by ancestry, and another path that has been very corporate. And so he was like, you're a rainmaker. So Rainmaker, growing up where I grew up, east side of San Jose, growing up in the hood, that it has that connotation. We make it rain. It's about the money. And then Rainmaker in corporate is someone that makes things happen almost as if by magic, like you want a rainmaker on your team. And then Rainmaker in native culture and tradition, it basically has to do with when people come to me and they tell me their dreams and they tell me their visions and what it is that they want, I basically hold them in the vision of having that, while basically in order to make it rain, we have to give thanks for all of the drought that we have experienced. We have to give thanks for everything that has brought us to where we are. And so one of our greatest prayers is one of thank you, because we're stepping into the place knowing that what it is that we're seeking, we already have it. And so for me, I have to hold people in that vision. So when we're doing the rain dance, if you will, we give thanks for the drought. And then we are stepping into the place that our belief is so strong that we're feeling the rain on our body. We're feeling the mud between our toes. We are feeling the corn swaying at our shoulders. So we already know that the rain has come. And so really, we are just giving thanks for that.
So you saying, okay, because I remember hearing, you talk about Native American culture, rain was rainmaking dances, things like that. So explain that. So is that an actual thing?
It is an actual thing. Absolutely. Yeah, it is definitely an actual thing. And so part of my ancestry is I am a Chichimeca dream warrior. So I am one of the last living blood descendants that teaches the practices. That's both on my mother's side and my father's side. And so through that, basically there are practices that have been passed down for thousands of years through our oral tradition, parent to child, teacher to student, uninterrupted. And in that lineage, we believe that our dreams create our reality. So the rain in a dream means that something is going to blossom with the perfect amount of rain. So we often use that in our dream, and we do something called dream planting to make the rain come. So whatever it is that we're working on, whatever it is that we're dealing with, it's going to grow with that perfect amount of rain. And also, it is a symbol of healing, and it is something that we use really just for co-creating, if you will.
So what's the when you say proper amount of rain? So what does that mean? What how do you put a proper amount of rain in that context?
Mhm.
Uh,
So just working with that energy, as an example, if it's a flood in somebody's dream, that could mean that they're going to have a flood of emotions, a flood of issues, right? It depends on exactly what's happening. Same thing if it's hailing in a dream. If there's drought in a dream, then that means that there's the lack of water. That means that there can be a drought of resources. That means that it can affect their physical health. So just by using that energy in our dream state, we're going to ensure that whatever we're working on is really just going to grow with that perfect amount of rain. So it's more so a thing of, spirit and the dream realm versus us kind of figuring out, okay, what is the proper amount?
okay. So now the your lineage, where geographically are you is your lineage from when you
Mexico.
Mexico?
So
Okay.
people don't realize that Mexico means people of the navel of the moon. And so for us, when we're doing our practices, there's very specific things that we do, and we are working with the energy around the navel because that is where we were attached to our mother in her womb. And it is said that during that time, we were dreaming of who we would become. And so we do many practices around that area because there is said to be an energetic body that surrounds your navel called your nawal. And the nawal is this undomesticated energy, like the subconscious. But there's an energy that surrounds our crown, which is called the tonal, and it's short for tonatua, which means the sun. So basically, the tonal means who we are with the sun. But who we are with the sun is created by our subconscious. And so we do work in that realm so that we can co-create, this reality. And I oftentimes will tell people that understand and that may be more spiritual that these practices are to help you to redream yourself consciously. Or if somebody's more scientific, it's reprogramming their subconscious.
So I mean, because I when you talking about subconscious, like I used to study well I still do Napoleon Hill.
Mhm.
He had a couple of books, famous books. I think one was the 17 Laws of Success, and then another one was where he's more famously known for is the Think and Grow Rich book.
Yes.
In this book, he speaks about he talks about these back when he came out, which was I think when the book came out was like in the 1920s, and during that time there were certain people that were leaders of industry back then. You're talking about Henry Ford. You're talking about the Rockefellers. You're talking about Andrew Carnegie, who was like who was his main mentor. And in the book Think and Grow Rich, he was saying how when he went to go interview Andrew Carnegie, the one gave him an assignment, is like, hey, look, I want you to teach this philosophy of how someone like me came to America with 2 potatoes in his pockets and became the richest man in the world.
Mhm.
And Napoleon Hill, he took that upon himself. And one of the things, the main thing that Andrew Carnegie said that did it for him was his mastery of the subconscious, his ability to use affirmations, to use visualizations. Like he would, like give you example. There's a movie called Any Given Sunday back in the day. Came out with Jamie Foxx, Al Pacino, LL Cool J. It was a football movie, but it was one scene with Bill Bellamy was playing a wide receiver, and he was in the locker room before the game, He was saying, I'm the greatest receiver of all times. I can catch anything. I'm the greatest receiver of all time. I can catch anything. He was saying these affirmations over and over, and he was using visualizations, and he was going out having good games. And there are many instances where athletes do the same thing. Performance, top people, top corporations. You got people like Tony Robbins going around teaching people how to get their mind right, stuff like that. So when you're talking about this, the dreaming and connecting with the subconscious, that's what comes to mind in a more modern sense. But you're saying that this been around thousands
where
of
ancient
years.
wisdom meets future technology. One man stands at the intersection, Tariq Bey, the I Ching King. With 20 years of mastery, Tariq merges street smarts with corporate savvy, translating ancient teachings into a language everyone can understand. Now he's breaking new ground with meta readings, a blend of timeless wisdom and cutting-edge technology inside the metaverse. This is more than a glimpse of your future. It's a personal blueprint for navigating life. The Meta Destiny Reading is an immersive experience, a journey into your purpose, career, relationships, or those intense crash-out prevention moments. Clarity when you need it most. You have two options to enter this experience for $497. If you already have a headset, you can join Tariq in the metaverse for a personal consultation. Together, you'll navigate the intricate patterns of your life, mapped out in stunning VR detail. Both options include a built-out mind mapping session and a breakdown in an AI-enhanced audio podcast, explaining your reading for future reference so you can revisit your destiny journey anytime. Or for your $997, get the premium Meta experience. This includes a jailbroken Oculus VR headset, customized and preloaded with your Destiny mind map. You'll also gain access to 5,000 TV channels, exclusive VR classes led by Tariq, and more. And with both options, you'll receive a 3-day, 4-night stay in Las Vegas. Because sometimes, stepping away from the ordinary is key to seeing clearly. Tariq Bey, the I Ching King, redefines spiritual consulting, combining the metaverse, mind mapping, and the deep teachings of the I Ching. Your destiny is ready to be experienced and elevated. Are you ready to see your path like never before? The future is calling. Let's get it. Book your Meta Destiny reading today at www.theichingking.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes. And also, it wasn't just in, Mexico, or what we call Mexico, this is CH, but also it was around in ancient Kemet too. There were dream temples. So I do have, African ancestry as well. And on my father's side, they've traced it all the way up to the Moors. And so basically, with that, part of my purpose in life is to remind people about the power of their dreams and to remind them that when we talk about dream life, dream car, dream wife, dream husband, all of these things about dreams, it's a key. It's something that has been hidden in our everyday language. There's a reason why they say dream life and all of these other things. It's because literally it is the dreams that is creating what we call this waking world. And they had dream temples in ancient Kemet where they would go to and they would get healings. And there were people there that would dream the people healthy. And they would do these different practices there in the temples.
Yeah, that's interesting because a part of what I do when I do destiny readings for people, I use the Maduneta, and it has an oracle deck based upon the tree of life from Kemet.
Mhm.
And if you look at the tree of life that we use, it's similar. It looks similar to what the Jewish community call the Kabbalah. their tree of life. On this tree of life, they have these. We have these deities, these spears on the tree, and one of them is one of the deities is called Heteru.
Mm-hmm.
Heteru deals with dreams. She deals with imagination. She's also called a Shun and other traditions. But how it's used is when you go into trance. Like you see a lot of the African spiritual practices involves rituals where mostly women in these rituals are go into these trances, because the feminine energy is more receptive to that subconscious state. So when they go into these trances, they're able to manifest certain personalities or certain type of whatever situation calls for. They're able to go in trance and bring it up. But one of the key elements is that imagination, is going into that dream state, the state between waking and asleep, being in between, to communicate with that subconscious. And I think that what happens is that we don't understand how the mechanism works, and I think, well, I know for a fact that we do use it, but we use it to create nightmares for ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. not having the ability to control it for ourselves. Like when going back to Napoleon Hill, he called it auto suggestion.
Yes.
When you're able to program your subconscious using the affirmations, visualizations for a desired end.
Yes.
So what happens is that we don't take control of our own subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Advertisers, corporations, they understand how this works.
Absolutely.
That's why they spend billions of dollars on ads. You had this conversation, we were saying how, the conscious mind is like the security guard of the subconscious. Mm-hmm. And when it goes to sleep, when you're asleep, that door can be open. So, yes. We gave the example of just imagine that, you're up late one night, you're watching television. And everything is cool, but you happen to doze off and you fall asleep. So while you're asleep, the television is still on. Advertisements are still being ran. Yep. So your conscious mind is not there to protect that what's going into your mind. So let's say that Golden Arch commercial come on. Yes. I'm loving it, the McDonald's or whatever. That commercial comes on while you're asleep. And your conscious mind has no awareness of this. So you're in your mind, you're going about your week, and you gotta you're saying to yourself, I'm gonna eat healthy this week. I'm gonna be on top of my stuff. And this is what your conscious mind is saying. But as you're driving down the freeway, you pass those golden arches, not knowing that that's a trigger. Yeah. All of a sudden you chemically you're just hungry. You don't know what, man. I'm hungry, and your imagination kicks in. You already picture yourself eating that big juicy burger, right? And all of a sudden you're in the drive-thru, and you're eating the sandwich, and after you eat the sandwich, you feel you're disappointed in yourself. You're feeling, I couldn't help it. I ruined. I messed up my diet. You start going through the emotions of failing to have the willpower to overcome that situation, but not understanding the mechanics of how the spirit works, the mechanics of how the subconscious works. So I think what you and your community does by training people with the verbally teaching and pass that information down, I think that information is priceless. If you're able to use this for yourself, like I said, Napoleon Hill, they call it auto suggestion. That's being able to take control of your subconscious yourself, and you program into your mind what you're trying to do, and not let other people do that for you. I think that's very, very important.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, one of my teachers said, you don't watch anything you don't want to live, right? So you have to be very careful about what it is that you take in when you're watching it, right? And to your point, you know, part of our practice is that we train our tonal to stay awake in our dream so that it can command and control the nawal to do what we want. So we train our conscious mind to stay awake, because most people, they fall asleep. They're like, their tonal is over there snoring, and their nawal is doing whatever it wants to do, and it's just recreating, oftentimes almost like Groundhog's Day, right? It just kind of recreates that person the same way, the same way, the same way, the same day, all of these sorts of things, right? And then people begin to think, gosh, why am I trying so hard? I'm doing all these things, maybe in their waking reality, to make these changes, but they're not working with the time that is the most optimal time to actually be making changes in this reality, which is in the dream state. And to your point, talking about auto suggestion, making any sort of, or doing any sort of affirmation, the best time to do that is right as you're drifting off to sleep. It's in a theta state, right? And in some of the trainings that I have been trained in through elders in my tradition, we are taught how to do certain breathing practices, how to do certain things to get into the theta state and this awake state, to be able to make changes. Even when we're doing certain healings, we have to be able to go into that state, because that is the state where the change is happening. And then we are guiding our client into that state as well, because again, the changes are happening in the dream realm. That's how we are creating this reality. And so training that tonal to stay awake, because otherwise, the nawal is going to do whatever it wants to do, but somebody needs to be directing it. Somebody needs to be commanding it. Somebody needs to say, no, this is what you need to do. Right. And so even if people can make some sort of recording of their own voice that plays when they're sleeping, or they're thinking or doing some visualization practices right before they go to sleep. I tell people, because there's only so much that I am allowed to share publicly, right? Because we have a whole tribal council, simply because it's a system. And there's certain things that you need somebody to teach you, and also not just to guide, but also to make sure that you are protected when you're doing certain things, and make sure that you actually understand. So the thing that I can share publicly is that, before you go to sleep, just making sure that you're issuing some sort of command, because we spend about a third of our lives sleeping. So by the time we're 75, we have spent 25 of those years sleeping. But it's that those 25 years that has created the 75.
Hold on. You saying that by the time you're 75 years old, you slept 25 years away?
Yeah.
Wow.
And most people don't use that time. And that's the most optimal time. That's why athletes, they teach them these things, right? Like what you're talking about. They've done studies on this, where they've taken a group, and one group hasn't made any changes. One group is just visualizing it, and one group is actually doing the thing. The group that is visualizing it and doing the thing, the practice, they see the same levels of improvement, because the mind doesn't necessarily know the difference between what it is that it's kind of visualizing and doing versus what it is that you're actually doing. And most people misuse that time, because they think of stuff that they don't want, or they just regurgitate all of the things that they've heard. They're on autopilot, and they often don't question themselves. Like the other day, I was in the store, and the lady was checking me out. She's talking to somebody else, and she says something about, yeah, I'm just, DYING inside because this and that. And I'm just thinking, why are you saying that? There's so many things that we just repeat, we just regurgitate. And most people are just programming themselves for failure and for lack and all this other kind of stuff, for suffering. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We create our own nightmares. So let me ask you this. I like to ask this question, what was let's say your red pill moment, when, of course, you're hearing about this stuff, you're first learning it, but when you actually, say, hey man, this really worked. I can't believe. So you end up manifesting something that you were dreaming on. When was your red pill moment when you knew this dream works?
One, I think my journey is a little different than most in the sense that I've never been cut off from source.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had this direct connection. But what I will say is that there was a time when I dream planted for something, and it was literally that next day that, I received an email for the exact thing that I had dream planted for.
Wow.
So I have definitely had those kinds of moments. I mean, right now, the life that I'm living is because of that work and because I've always believed, in the power of my dreams even before I met certain teachers in my lineage.
Yeah. I think I like for me, you know, that red pill moment. I think it was crazy because I always felt like there was something more to life, but something was missing. I wouldn't get the whole picture, and then I never forget this. I was in college. It was 1999. Um, I was me and the wifey. You know, we went to the movies theater, and we actually went to go see The Matrix.
Mm, mhm,
And so we watching this movie. I'm like, man, it's the special effects and everything. But when I left out the movie theater, we looked at each other and we say, what if this shit ain't real? what if this really is the Matrix? And just by me asking that question, it started a chain of events, some sequences that started to change my whole perspective. And I just started to question things a lot more. Like you couldn't just tell me. I started to question things like religion.
mhm,
I started to look into my history and my heritage. That's when I discovered the Moors. I said, oh, you mean we wouldn't just over here so-called brought us over here in chains and called us, what we said. I want to say like this, we were more than niggas. That's what you're trying to tell me? And then that whole journey started for me. And I started to learn more about ancient Kemet. I started to learn about that. I think me being in the East Coast and on the South, a lot of the people who start to awaken, they path started out, with the 5% teachings. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? So that was it was like these breadcrumbs led me to certain things, till the point where I got introduced to the I Ching.
mhm,
And the I Ching was like when I discovered that, I'm like, hold on, what what's the oracle, what's the, what I'm saying? And I started to see where in the Bible they were even using these divination systems to communicate with this divine intelligence, with this subconscious. And I tell people, like, if you look, like right now, me and you, we talking, we communicating, conscious minds is, we talking, we having this conversation, but at the same time, our hearts are beating, our cells are dividing, our
mhm,
lungs is, all types of bodily functions are going on inside us that we have no conscious awareness of how it works. There's a part of us that's don't even worry about that. I got that. Y'all just go keep talking, and there's a part of you that's doing that. So the same part of us that's controlling that is the same thing that's controlled inside you. It's the same thing controlled inside everybody else. It's the same thing making sure that the stars and the planets don't collide with each other. It's the same thing that everything's operating on a clock, 7 days, 365 days, summer, winter, fall. All these automations are happening because there is an intelligence behind this. Everybody's talking about AI, but there's a spiritual intelligence behind everything. So
mhm,
to be able to communicate with that and see what's going on, that's what the tools like the I Ching does. And especially, I think what me and you did the other night, it was historical because I don't think that ever been done before. To be real with you, we took these ancient knowledge and we combined it with the modern, most advanced technology that we have today.
Yes.
You know, we took this and we put it into a, you know, you got you got the physical realm, you got the spiritual realm, now you got the dream realm in between, and now you even have the metaverse. That's a realm.
Yes.
It's a whole nother realm. So we was able to take this information, take ourselves, put our consciousness with the help of the technology, go into a metaverse. Both of us. You're on the other side of the country. I'm in Georgia, you're in California, but we was in the same space at the same time, in a virtual space. And we were building out, breaking down the readings, and so I want people to hear from someone who actually experienced that. Can you talk about your experience
Yes.
with the I Ching? And because I know you coming from a human design background, so there's a correlation. You can't have the human design without the I Ching. So can you go into that?
Yes, absolutely. So, I've had my headset for a while. I hadn't used it, in a while. And so going into that space, first of all, the space that you had prepared was really beautiful. And so when I first got in there, I was just looking around and I'm like, oh, it feels like I'm in a dream, which I am because we're always in a dream. This is a dream, right? So they say first you meet somebody in a dream and then you meet them in this waking reality, right? And so it just felt like, oh, okay, well, I've met you before and now we're doing this thing. And then oftentimes we have different guides, right, that we meet in the dream realm and in this realm. And so going into that space that, you had prepared with all of the information around the situation, but being able to actually see the visuals, being able to actually see pictures, from the different books, being able to see all of these things, but in a way that's different from a flat way, if that makes sense. Like if you would have just pulled it up and, okay, let me show you on Zoom and let me show you here. It's like, that's cool. And that would have been great. However, I definitely appreciated having the entire experience and also being able to see the recording after too, because that was, really dope to get that information. But, just to go through the reading that you did in terms of the I Ching, but then also along with the Metu Neter, that for me was really complimentary, but it made so much sense to me. First of all, one of the things looking at the destiny, everything made sense. It actually made me feel better about myself in the sense of, oh, yes, I can resonate with all of these things. And it makes more sense of why I am the way that I am in terms of information. And I won't get into all of the things, but there's just certain stuff about myself I've kind of questioned along the path in terms of my reaction to certain situations, right? I feel I'm a pretty neutral person, or at least I can be, or when I actually do act, I'm acting more from a space of neutrality. So to know that that is something that is really a vital skill and something that I have come here to learn was like, wow, okay. So this is confirmation, but also just to know the things that I would need along the way because I have a Capricorn sun. So Pluto just shifted out of Capricorn and now I'm going into Aquarius and I was asking myself for information and resources to help me really flourish, right? In this new age that we're entering into. And so for me, like you talked about, the practices, the red pill moment, they happen all the time because I was dream planting for it and I was asking for it. And then that reading came up. So to me, it's not a coincidence. It was like, okay, here's something that you need to know for the next leg of your journey. And it's not just something that you need to know just, oh, here's a good to have. It's like, no, this is critical information that you have to know in order to really flourish and be protected. And these things can have severe consequences if you don't have, the information. So yeah, I just thought the whole experience was amazing. I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to create a space for yourself,
Hmm.
like the space that we were creating in, that's always going to be on top on your in your glasses.
Yes.
So when you put your headsets on, you can always return to that moment. Really, you can go and look at your reading and say and make adjustments. You know what, this happened to me the other day. Let me go look at my destiny reading and see
Mhm.
how it relates, because the destiny reading that we do, that's a foundation
Yes.
for everything that comes after.
Hmm.
Because if you understand, I like to say, I like to put it this way, this the world is a stage, and you hear it, if the world's a stage and everybody has to play their part. So when you incarnate on this planet, there's certain abilities or certain things that you're going to need, because there's going to be a moment, a scene. You're seeing your moment where you have to, when your name is called, you have to perform, and you have to be the character that's required in that situation.
Right.
So you can't just be stuck playing one role. You got to be able to play whatever role is called for. But there's a particular situation that's going to come in your life when you're going to need a certain ability and a certain mind state, a certain character. Because if you look at it, the way you act, it's called acting, right? The way you act is based off upon your character.
Hmm.
And when you see these, when people go back and they look at ancient Kemet, and they see the dog-headed god Sebek, or you see the hawk-headed god Heru, you see Herakahuti, you see all these different deities and stuff, and they would present the false narrative that our ancestors were worshiping animals. No, they weren't. There were metaphors describing certain personalities that we have inside of us that you can tap into, that you may need in certain times. So to be able to figure out which one of these deities is governing your subconscious, is more dominant in your behavior, you can kind of like figure out, oh, that's why I'm more inclined to do these things.
Yes.
This is why I do this. This is why I do that. Based upon that, you can live a different type of life, different type of situation. Not saying life's gonna be easy, but
Yeah.
you will have a better chance of dealing with things. You have a better chance of not crashing out,
Hmm.
because you gotta understand, when you're talking about things like religion is, I like to say, religion is basically behavior modification.
Hmm.
That's what it is. It's like you see these movies where you see a hardened criminal. He's in the streets. He's doing all these different things. Then he goes to prison, and then he get introduced to either Christianity or Islam, and they start to modify their behavior. Their character changes. And so the whole thing was, don't get stuck on the religion, get stuck on the results. And if it's Islam, is if you gotta behave and act like the prophet, you know, or if it's Christianity, you gotta behave and act like Christ. It's whatever it took to modify that behavior. That's what it do. But just
Hmm.
just, just in our ancestors, our cultures, we had different name for these deities and these different and
Yes.
these prophets and stuff like that. But people get too carried away on the specific name and things like that. No, focus on the results. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think you were able to identify with the system so easily, because you was able to identify the certain principles that
Yes.
were familiar to you. We might call it this in this culture, but you call it this in your culture. So you was able to put those puzzles together, man. I think that was a beautiful thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, so let me ask you this. So tell me, how do you use this in business? Because I know everybody talking spirituality, this and that and the third, but we got to pay these bills. We got to live these lives. So is
Yes.
it are these things practical in helping you make money?
Mm-hmm. Do you mean the reading, or do you mean what I do?
Yeah,
Or
the
you mean
read,
both?
like, yeah, with both. I mean, like for instance, how would you take what you learned from your destiny reading and
Mhm,
apply it into your business,
mhm.
making money?
Well, interestingly enough, I was thinking that, for those specific energies, for those specific potentials and things like that, in my dream practices, I would basically dream plant with some of those energies, some of the symbols of them, if I need to do certain things in a business meeting, or if I need to even develop more of my leadership skills. For me, I often dream plant on those types of things like, okay, help me to become a great leader. Because in order to become a great leader, you first have to lead yourself. Right? You need to be able to lead yourself. You need to have discipline. You need to have structure. You need to be organized. There's lots of different things. So it's like, what are the skills that I need, right? And what are the things that I need to sharpen in order to be a great leader, in order to be worthy of actually leading and or being followed, whatever that may be, right? How can I help more people? Because for me, that's the reason why I want to be a great leader, or I am working and developing on these skills, is because one of my missions in life is to help. My dream as a child was to help millions of people become financially free. But that changed as I went, around the sun more and more times, and it became trillions of people, because I realized I do not want to just help people in this lifetime. And I'm not meant to do that. I meant that there's certain people I'm going to help in this lifetime, and there's seeds that I'm going to leave that are going to help future generations. So I would say in that aspect, working with the energies from my reading in my dream planting, but then also in terms of the actual, reading and understanding that system, because it's something that I had done before, but it was more of an aha when you and I did it. And again, you can have all of these different tools, right? And sometimes, like maybe there's this treasure chest that you have, right? That you've been given in life. And when you're born, you have this treasure chest, and there's certain things that are already in there that you already come with. And on the journey, there's other treasures that get added, right? And sometimes a treasure may be added, but it might not be something that you need in the moment. So for me, what happened in the reading, it was like, okay, I've used this before, but there was a click that happened where it was like, oh, this is something that I really, really need to utilize in this next journey of my lifetime. And I can see it becoming something that it would be that I go to often, right? Especially in these different pivotal moments around meetings, around people, around situations, around all of the different things that we do, things that just come up. I think it just makes it easier when you can sort of take yourself out of the situation, get into a space of neutrality, and then just see what is that move, asking the question and using the system, and then getting the answer, taking the information and applying it.
Yeah, yeah, that's real good because I remember, if I recall correctly, your reading was a Heru, and Heru was that the ability to not act based upon emotions and think things through before you make any type of critical moves. I think that's a beautiful skill I have in business, and especially what you do now, Jen, the Rainmaker stuff. Now, I'm I'm part of the Rainmaker team, so can you tell people what this rainmaking thing is, so, and how and what's this new venture that you got everybody you're so excited about, and this wealth venture, making money and stuff in 2025. Can you break that whole scenario down?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a couple different things, right? So, Jen the Rainmaker, and also what I do in terms of like teaching in my school. So, that's Dream U University. So, that's like something totally separate from what I'm doing right now. So, what I'm doing right now is, in our tradition, when it comes to human development, one of the first things that we have to master, the foundation, is called chipakli. And chipakli is this energy that was associated with yielding a good harvest. So when we look at what that means today, it's basically saying money. You got to have money. You have to have resources, because we can't train and teach. And, in our tradition, like, we're not going to go and, like, let's talk about enlightenment and all these other things if you are hungry and your stomach is growling and grumbling, right? It's like, nah, let's make sure. And I'll also, in human design, I'm a one, which is the foundation. So for me, it's like, no, let me make sure people's foundation is strong. Let me help them there. And then we can go on to these other things. But again, they're actually separate. So what I've created is what's called the Rich Network. And the Rich Network is Rainmaker International Consultancy House. And basically what that is that's a group of individuals, groups. We're coming together collectively. We're learning about wealth accumulation. We're learning about money. How do you play the money game to win, right? We're learning about it, but we're also providing services to help people become financially free and to help them create generational wealth, and also to optimize their taxes. So when I was doing the money healer, and that was, what people were referring to me as, I was taking these traditional financial planning concepts, but I was saying, well, if your energy ain't right, if you have all this stuff ancestry, like, let's look at that too. Because if I put a plan together, you could sabotage that plan, right? Just based on your limiting beliefs and things like that. So I was working with people in both. And so while that is still something that I can do, really through the Rich Network, we're really focused on, okay, people need to understand how money works. They need to know how to play the game to win. And so we're giving them those tools and their resources, but we're also plugging them into a system and a network where they can create residual income for themselves, where they can basically plug into a system where you have people that are making, millions, multi-millions of dollars. Because even if you just plug into that system, being in the energy of something like that, that's really going to change you. It's going to change your frequency. It's what's going to change what's called your haviness. It's going to raise it just by actually stepping into the container and hearing all of these things. And there's so much training and education that goes into it. There's like all of these different things that happen. And so people are absolutely loving it. It's really changing their lives, but it's also providing a system too where people can make massive passive income even while they sleep. Because, I'm all about that sleep life. I'm a projector. So I like to get my naps in. I'm not trying to be out here, working hard. We are basically, we are just using these systems to our benefit to help people become free, teaching them, and then allowing them to be able to, have an additional stream of income too.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be a poor, righteous teacher.
That's never been my thing. Okay. That was never any programming I had to break out of. Although, actually, interestingly enough, it was in the sense of, there was times when I would go to different community things, different events and stuff like that. And there was a lot of that energy. And so when I stepped into those containers, being a projector, absorbing all of that, I actually had to step out of them because it became very dangerous to my nervous system and to all of the work that I've already done and to my mission. And I was like, oh, I can't be in this, struggle container, right? Because when you're focused on that, that's just going to magnify and multiply. And we really need to be focused on getting this money and getting this wealth, because they say it's like 63% of illnesses, they are finding the root cause is due to financial stress.
Say that again.
60% of illnesses, they have found that the root cause is due to financial stress. Like, I think about how many people that I talk to and their sleep quality isn't good because they'll wake up stressed or they feel stressed or they can't even really be present with their family because they're worried about all these things or, all this kind of stuff. And that is not why we came here. We
No.
did not come here to struggle. So we have to reclaim our divine birthright. So it's more than just money. Like I've always said this to people because sometimes people have this issue when you talk about getting rich, like, oh, you're just greedy or all this other stuff. And I'm just like, you don't get it. Like, right now with what we're doing, if we can collectively come and we all are thriving and overflowing, like think about the change that we can make by doing that, by being well resourced. And many of our ancestors were actually well resourced. Some of us come from some of the richest nations that existed ancestrally. So that's the story we need to hear about. We need to hear about the ancestors that were wealthy, that were extremely wealthy. The people that are the healers of the world and these sorts of things in the tribe, they were provided for. Everything was provided for them. They were taken care of. Because sometimes people say, oh, you shouldn't charge for your gifts and all this. And I say, well, surgeons have a gift. They have a steady hand, right? CPAs have a gift. They have a gift of being able to compute all the numbers or retain all the information or whatever it may be. We all have gifts. And so, for me, my big thing is right relationship, because when we are in right relationship with each other and when we are in right relationship with Mother Earth, that's when all of this fighting and these health issues stop and cease, right? So at my thing, I always want to be in right relationship with people. Like let this energy, let this thing be something that's going to bring joy and harmony and health and peace and all of that. And I believe that we should all be flourishing financially.
Wow. I think, man, with that right there, I don't think it's too much to be said on that right there. That's what we all thriving to do, not being not dying of stress because you can't pay your bills, man. That sucks.
Yeah,
That's not how we supposed to be living.
exactly.
I think we both of us have a mutual friend is Oyi. And what I respect about him is he had the courage to pack up, and he shipped out. He went over to Bali, and he's back now. But I remember him being over there, and during that time he was over there, I remember, man, he called me one day, man, and I was stressed because, man, I think I just spent a couple of grand just on living. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just on living, and he was like, man, yeah, he just woke up, meditated. He said he had a smoothie. He said he paid $2 for the smoothie. And he said $2 for a smoothie, man. My smoothie cost me $12. And then he said he spent like $10 the whole day on his meal. And he said, it was like the financial day-to-day stress was way less than being over here in America. People don't understand. Being over here in America, yeah, it's the greatest country in the world, but to live over here is very expensive, and you constantly always in hustle mode all the time, hustle because you got to get money to live, and that takes a toll on people.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to, to break loose from that and get your financial freedom, because if you don't have that freedom, you will live in check to check, that's going to kill you.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I definitely appreciate that. So Jen, I want thank you for being a part of my first episode, and I hope to have you back on here again. And I can't wait to really get into this this business opportunity that you introduced me to, and so we can, like I said, I don't want to die of stress. like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And nobody should, not at all. We should have time to enjoy our lives, to breathe, to do all the things that we want to do, travel the world, whatever people want to do. You know, for me, I'm like, yes, let's make that a reality for you, right? Let's get this money, because I feel like then we can also build something really beautiful, because that's the other thing. When people are out there, you know, and they trying to get some, they don't really have the time, the space, the energy to build, you know, and sometimes that can lead to conflict, right? Because things can happen and everyone's trying to get, you know, a piece. And it's like, nah, let's make sure that everybody has and is provided for and is cared for, especially like our elders, you know, all this stuff that's happening right now. So for me, my biggest vision, my biggest dream is really to see people flourishing in all areas of their life. We got to get that foundation right.
So everybody, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel, and be on the lookout for more episodes. We definitely gonna have Jen on there pretty soon. Jen's gonna have her podcast, you know, about the rain. Was it gonna be the Rainmakers, Jen? Is that what we coming with? Yeah, we interviewing people in the industry and building these teams, and we're looking to take this whole thing to a whole nother level, man. But like I said, thank you for being a part of the show. And man, let's make it rain.
Yes, let's make it rain. Exactly. Let's get rich.
Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Peace.
Peace.